Hi there, and welcome to my second episode at Ordinary Extraordinary, where we uncover the hidden magic in everyday life. In today's episode, which is titled How the Journey Began, we turn to the unspoken sacrifices of our ancestors. The ancestors who migrated from one country and went to another. The men and women who left their familiar soil armed with only memories, courage, and hope. Now, in the past 3 weeks, it saddens me to say that I've had to say goodbye to two elders that I've known since birth. And their passing stirred a question in me, which was how much truth is known by the generations after them? The truth about what they carried within them, the weight of their journey of migration. They made that journey so that they could leave behind a legacy for us today. In reflection, this episode is not tied to any one particular individual or bound to any single culture. It could reflect any person from any country that has experienced migration. So it's about all the migrants, and it's the countless migrants whose choices gave us the lives we're now living today. I mean, we inherit the gains. We inherit their gains. But at what cost? Have we stopped to think about what cost it was to them? What did they surrender so that we might flourish? So I ask you to pause, to listen, and to take a moment to honour the extraordinary sacrifices that shape the lives we now lead. And we can then we'll be able to see how they extracted the extraordinary from what was their everyday ordinary. I hope you enjoy the episode. Migration is not a new concept, and despite the UK having a long history of migration starting as early as 650 BC with the arrival of the Celts, I have no doubt that the emotions, the feelings, the thoughts about moving from the familiar to the unfamiliar have remained throughout history. So let's delve into the migration history that we are more aware of. Let's concentrate on the parents, the grandparents, or in some cases now it could be your great-grandparents. The people who left their motherland, the place where they had been born and brought up, to come to a country they had possibly only ever dreamt about. And knowing that not many of them had the cultural intelligence about where they were heading. But nonetheless, they made that journey. The actual reason for why and how each individual came to the conclusion that they needed to migrate, only they know. Often it was because migration provided them with a bigger opportunity out there to earn good money, improve their lives as well as their families' lives, which wouldn't have happened if they'd remained in their motherland. Yet they did it. They chose uncertainty so that we might inherit possibility. Now, in order for them to come here, they made big sacrifices. Sacrifice is often invisible. Sacrifices can be hidden in the silence of letters never sent, in the recipes altered because certain spices were no longer available, and also in the loneliness of being misunderstood in a new tongue. Imagine the moment of leaving, a mother folding away her memories of her childhood home in her heart, a father stepping onto a ship, a train or plane, knowing he may never again walk the streets where his laughter first echoed, parents having to let go of their precious children on whom they'd pinned all their hopes. These departures were not just physical journeys, they were emotional ruptures. To leave one's birthplace is to leave behind language, familiar tastes and smells, the rhythm and colour of festivals, and the comfort of family and kinship. Our ancestors gave up the intimacy of belonging so that we could belong differently, perhaps more securely, perhaps with more opportunity. Their sacrifices were not always celebrated, but they were profound. So they migrated, they grafted, they sent money back home to help their families. Some called their spouses and children over, as well as other members of their family. And over time, those who were single, they got married and remained here. When I look deeper into the sacrifices made by migrant families that I know of, the biggest one from my perspective was for them to leave their families behind. Leave the very people and place where they had been born and grown up, leaving behind what was normal to them, having to walk away with just memories. Unlike today, where travel has been made easier and more frequent and communication far more accessible, back then, many walked away, knowing that they wouldn't be returning back home anytime soon. Sadly, I share with you an anecdote that illustrates the sadness of such a situation. I attended a funeral just some days ago, the funeral of an uncle that my father had known from back in India before either had migrated. And despite me knowing my uncle since birth, I didn't know until the reading of his eulogy that when my uncle migrated to the UK in his late teens, he had left behind his little sister, who was just 5 years old. Nothing unusual of that period of time, I guess. My uncle worked hard in the coal mines and saved money to send back home to look after his family. But he also kept some money to buy his sister a pretty little dress. But you know what? Uncle's sister never got the dress, as she passed away soon after he'd left, and neither did my uncle get to go back for her funeral. An unimaginable truth of the time, a tragedy that my uncle lived with for all his life. But that didn't change the fact that he remained in the UK. Like most migrants, he continued to do what he could to look after everyone back home, as well as create a new family and life here, in the new place called home. So, the first generation of children born to migrant parents had arrived. Unbeknown to that new generation, they grew up with privileges they may never have seen had their parents never migrated. How many of you have stopped to actually sit down and think about the extent of sacrifice that was made and the kind of privileges that were given? Imagine what life could have been like if they had not migrated. In my conversation with the younger generations, I've heard their voices carry gratitude for migration's gifts, the opportunities, their horizons widened, their lives reshaped. Yet beneath that chorus of appreciation, I sensed a silence, the unspoken weight of sacrifice borne by those who left behind their familiar soil, an absence of recognition for those who carried longing in their hearts as they built new worlds for others to inherit. Some would argue that you are not here out of your own choice, so therefore the so-called privileges are not privileges and more a birthright, and it's your normal way of living. Point taken. However, was that birthright not given to you because someone along the generational line had made that initial sacrifice? I understand that cultural tendencies and tradition will become diluted in generations to come. It's not about you knowing your mother tongue or upholding cultural traditions. We're not here to judge one another. However, even if we don't know about these things, we still shouldn't be using them as an excuse for not acknowledging the sacrifices made, and we should honour the legacy of those who enabled us to be here today. More importantly, it allows us to keep in touch with our ancestral history. You see, however far removed you may be from your ancestral history, you can't escape it, as it's part of your DNA and it will continue in future generations to come. I always say that the past is a story for us to tell. Most stories of migration are fascinating to listen to, and even more fascinating to know, especially when they have a direct connection with you. The ordinary act of migration, of leaving one place for another, was extraordinary in its sacrifice and outcomes. I invite you to pause and think. Who in your family or in your community made that first journey away from home? What did they leave behind? And how does their courage live in you today? When we walk into classrooms, workplaces, or communities today, we carry their courage with us. Every degree earned, every home built, every friendship formed across cultures is a continuation of their story. Acknowledging their sacrifices is not about romanticising hardship. It's about gratitude. It's about saying, we see you, we honour you, we remember that our roots stretch across oceans and borders. Invest in taking a moment to write down their story, or even your own story. Share it with a loved one, or even better, share the story here at Ordinary Extraordinary so that others can listen into it. Or at the very least, whisper a thank you into the air, because in spite of everything, you can't change it. And as I said, you can't escape it. So why not enrich your life and embrace it? After all, every one of those people who made that journey of migration is nothing less than extraordinary. So by remembering and honouring them, we stitch ourselves back into the fabric of their love and resilience, and remember that without their extraordinary sacrifice, we wouldn't be where we are today. Thank you for watching and listening to the episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I have no doubt that this episode will resonate with a lot of people who've watched it. If you are that person, then let's share your story. Let's share the story of be it your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents. And because these stories, if they go untold, will eventually disappear and nobody will know about them. Even if it's for your own sake that you want to preserve the story, then let's do it. If you'd like to tell your story yourself, if you'd like to tell the story yourself, Alpha, then you're more than welcome. And if you'd like me to tell it on your behalf, then I'm very happy to do so. It'd be my honour and my pleasure for you to join me on this platform at Ordinary Extraordinary, because this channel, as I've expressed before, is for the people and it'll be created by the people. So all my contact details are given below, and I look forward to hearing from you. And if you want to do this anonymously, we can do it anonymously. We don't have to mention names. We don't have to give any specifics or details. But just think about the richness of the communities out there, everything that they contain, and all the things we don't know about. And if you have enjoyed listening to the story, please do, at the very least, like, share and subscribe, because that would mean a tremendous amount to me. And yeah, I look forward to you joining me for the next episode. Don't forget, like, share and subscribe. Any views and comments, please leave them in the box below. I'll see you at the next episode.